Have you ever wondered why God didn't just wipe Satan out the moment he rebelled? Why would a holy, all-powerful God allow his enemy to roam free, deceive nations, and cause chaos on earth for thousands of years? You've probably heard the story of Lucifer's fall from heaven. Maybe you've read how he took a third of the angels with him. Maybe you've heard sermons that mention his final judgment. But have you ever stopped to ask, why not end it then? Why allow the enemy of God to continue existing? What if I told you that God's decision not to destroy Satan immediately wasn't weakness, it was wisdom? What if I told you that hidden within this mystery is a strategy more brilliant than anything we could imagine? This isn't just a theological puzzle, it's a revelation of God's justice, love, power, and divine timing. It's a window into his master plan that stretches from heaven to earth and back again. God is not slow, he is precise. And what looks like delay is actually a divine demonstration. This isn't just a story about angels and demons. This is about you, your faith, your purpose, your battles. Because when you understand why God allowed Satan to remain, you begin to see the bigger picture of your own spiritual journey. You begin to understand the war you were born into and the victory you were destined for. This video is going to take you deeper than you've ever gone. We're going to break down the mystery, the purpose, and the power behind God's choice. And once you see the truth, it will change the way you see your enemy and your God forever. Before we begin, make sure to like this video to help spread this powerful message to others who are searching for answers. Comment below what questions you've always had about Satan and spiritual warfare. And most importantly, share this with someone who's struggling to understand why evil still exists in the world. They need this. We've created content that digs deep into Scripture to help you grow in truth and stand firm in faith. Our prayer is that this message opens your eyes to the spiritual reality around you and awakens a fire in your soul that no darkness can put out. There was once a silence in heaven, not a silence of peace, but a silence of wonder. The angels who had remained faithful stood still, their hearts burning with questions too deep for words. Why was the throne of God defied? Why did Lucifer, once called the Shining One, speak words that cut like thorns through the joy of eternity? Why was he not destroyed when he first lifted his voice against the Most High? Yet God, who sees the end from the beginning, did not strike him down. His wisdom spoke louder than thunder, though no sound was heard. He let evil stand, so all could see it fall by its own hand. In the book of Ezekiel, it is whispered that the heart of Lucifer grew proud because of his beauty, and his wisdom was ruined by his own greatness. He walked among the fiery stones, perfect in all his ways until wickedness was found in him. But God did not erase him in a moment. Instead, he allowed time to breathe and history to open like a scroll, revealing the truth hidden behind the mask of rebellion. Darkness would not be judged in secret. It would be unveiled in full light. The heavens, the earth, the sea, and every soul in them would witness what evil becomes when it is left to rule. The serpent in the garden spoke with charm, but his bite poisoned the world. Still, God did not destroy him. He promised instead that a woman's child would crush his head, though the serpent would strike the heel. So through generations, evil crept and coiled, showing its fangs, tearing at the hearts of kings, children, prophets, and nations. And with every act of hatred, jealousy, pride, and death, the mask slipped further, and the face of evil was exposed. All creation was watching. Angels leaned forward. The earth groaned, waiting. And still, God did not forget. When Jesus walked upon the earth, he told a parable of a farmer who planted good seed, but while everyone was sleeping, an enemy came and planted weeds. The servants wanted to tear out the weeds at once, but the master said, "Let them grow together until the harvest. Only then will it be clear what belongs to the light and what belongs to the darkness." This was not delay. It was divine unveiling. For if God had destroyed Satan at once, would all hearts have understood? Would they have seen the fullness of rebellion's fruit? Would they have known that even the smallest seed of pride leads to ruin? Paul, in his letter to the Corinthians, told of how things hidden in darkness would one day be brought into the light, and every secret desire would be revealed. And in the book of Revelation, the dragon is not crushed in secret corners. It is cast down in view of all. The heavens cry out that the accuser has been thrown down and salvation has come. Only when all lies are spent and all masks fall does God pour out his final judgment. Evil is not ended quickly so that it can be ended forever, with none to defend it, none to misunderstand. The story must unfold, not for God's sake, but for the watching universe. So God waits, not because he is weak, but because he is wise. He waits while evil shows itself, while darkness consumes itself, while pride destroys its own kingdom. And in that waiting, he reveals what rebellion truly is. Not freedom, but a fire that devours its own. From Eden to the cross, from the prophets to the final trumpet, God is letting every soul see the true face of Satan. He is not a hero. He is not misunderstood. He is the thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And through the long ache of history, the heavens have learned, the earth has witnessed, and the truth has spoken louder than fear. He did not destroy Satan at once because love does not act in haste, and justice does not need to shout. The heart of God is patient, not wanting any to perish, even while he lets sin reveal its own shame. And through this holy delay, the universe learns what it could never understand with force. It learns that to turn from God is to lose light itself. It learns that evil is not just wrong, it is empty, cruel, and full of thorns. And it sees that God, in all his waiting, has never stepped away. His hand is still near. His purpose is still unfolding. And his judgment, when it comes, will be perfect. But as the veil of evil slowly lifted, another mystery began to shimmer behind it. One that is even more tender, more sacred, and harder for the mind to grasp. It is the mystery of choice, of the will that beats within every created heart. For God did not make angels like stars that burn without thought, or trees that grow without desire. He made them with voices, with the power to love or to walk away. And in that freedom lies the heartbeat of heaven's justice. If God had crushed Satan the moment he rebelled, what would that say of the gift he gave to all beings, the gift of free will? The prophet Moses once stood before Israel and heard the voice of God say, "I am giving you a choice today, life or death, blessings or curses. Choose life, so that you and your children may live." From the beginning, God never forced love, never programmed loyalty. He invited it. He called for it like a shepherd calling sheep by name. And when Lucifer chose to twist that freedom into pride, God did not snatch it away. Because for love to be real, it must be free. And for justice to be true, it must not be manipulated by fear or forced obedience. That is why the rebellion was not silenced instantly, because silencing a voice does not erase the question behind it. In the book of Job, there is a scene unlike any other, where Satan appears before God, not as a prisoner, but as an accuser. He is allowed to speak. He is allowed to test. And though it seems strange, God permits it. Not because he agrees with the evil one, but because he respects the structure he himself created. A structure where truth is proven, not imposed. Where loyalty is refined, not demanded. Job did not serve God because he was shielded from harm. He served because he knew God's worth, even in the ashes. And so, even in the court of heaven, justice remained untwisted. The will of man was not tampered with, and the fairness of God shone all the more. Paul wrote that God will judge the world with justice by the man he appointed, and he proved this to everyone by raising him from the dead. Justice is not simply punishment, it is the clear and measured weighing of hearts. If Satan had been destroyed too soon, without a full hearing, without a full revelation of his choices and their consequences, would the court of heaven stand pure? Would the sons and daughters of God serve him because they knew him, or only because they feared him? That is not the kingdom God desired. He wanted a kingdom where worship comes from recognition, not from trembling, where allegiance is born of clarity, not confusion. When Jesus stood before Pilate, accused though innocent, he did not call down angels. He did not silence the mockers. He allowed the injustice to run its course, not because he agreed with it, but because he was making a way for justice to be rebuilt. He showed that God's justice is patient and perfect, not hasty and hollow. Just as Jesus endured accusation, so God endures Satan's rebellion for a time, not because he is unsure of victory, but because he is sure of truth, and truth must unfold, not be forced. There is a beauty in this restraint, a holy fire that does not burn too fast. The Psalms say that righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne. That means his rule is not driven by impulse, but by fairness so deep that even his enemies cannot accuse him of tyranny. That is why Satan still breathes. That is why the fallen are not yet erased. Their path must be allowed to run until the very last witness sees and understands. Only then will every mouth be silenced, not by force, but by the sheer clarity of truth. So God preserves free will, not because he is uncertain, but because he is good. He protects justice, not by shortcuts, but by letting every choice ripen fully. And in this long waiting, his throne is not weakened, it is established forever. The integrity of God's kingdom is built not just on power, but on purity. And as each soul chooses light or darkness, heaven watches, knowing that when the final day arrives, no one will say they were tricked, forced, or unheard. For God is not only a king, he is a just judge, and his patience is the proof of his perfection. And as heaven stood firm upon the pillars of justice and freedom, a deeper work began to unfold, quiet, yet fierce. It was the shaping of loyalty not through ease, but through endurance. For when God chose not to strike down Satan at once, he opened a path not only for truth to be revealed, but for the hearts of the righteous to be trained and tested in the fire of unseen battles. In the long shadow cast by the enemy's rebellion, faith is no longer a soft whisper. It becomes a sword sharpened by trial, a song sung in the darkness, a devotion proved when the light is hidden. The scriptures speak of Abraham, who was asked to offer up his only son. It was not because God desired pain, but because he desired faith to rise and walk through the unknown. And Abraham's loyalty became like gold refined in fire. In the same way, Satan's presence in this world is not a sign of God's weakness, but a stage upon which the true children of the kingdom are revealed. For how can loyalty be known if it is never challenged? How can love be proven if it is never pressed by loss or confusion or the hiss of the serpent? The prophet Zechariah saw a vision where Satan stood to accuse the high priest Joshua before the angel of the Lord. And yet, even as the accuser pointed his finger, God rebuked him and clothed Joshua with clean garments. The scene was not merely about accusation. It was a revealing of tested righteousness. Joshua did not defend himself. God did. But only after the test had drawn near, exposing what was hidden in the heart. For trials uncover what smooth days conceal. The enemy may stir the storm, but it is God who walks upon its waves to strengthen his chosen ones. When Jesus prayed for his disciples, he did not ask the Father to take them out of the world. He said, "Keep them safe from the evil one." That prayer holds a mystery. For God, in his power, could have removed every danger, yet he left his followers among temptation, among shadows, among thorns, not to abandon them, but to strengthen them. Just as the Israelites walked through the wilderness and learned to trust the pillar of cloud and fire, so too the righteous now walk through a world where Satan still prowls, and every step becomes a lesson in loyalty. The Apostle Peter once warned that the devil is like a roaring lion, walking about, looking for someone to destroy. And yet, in the same breath, he said, "Stand strong in your faith." He did not say, "Escape the trial." He said, "Endure it." Because the testing of faith produces patience, and patience makes the heart complete, lacking nothing. God did not design righteousness to be a fragile flower that withers in the wind. He designed it to be a tree planted by the waters, whose roots dig deep through drought and storm. Growing stronger each day, the enemy watches it refuse to fall. Even the Lord Jesus, though sinless, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tested by the devil. And there, with no crowd to cheer him, no miracles to perform, no comfort but the Word of God, he stood firm. Not because the enemy was weak, but because his heart was true. And in that testing, he showed all who would follow him that loyalty is not born in the calm, but in the crucible. That even when the tempter comes, the righteous can answer with truth, with trust, with unwavering allegiance to the Father. So the righteous are not left to suffer because God forgets them. They are trained, refined, and tested, because God sees something in them worth building, worth proving, worth revealing to the watching heavens. Through the quiet choices, through the painful stand, through the battle unseen by earthly eyes, loyalty shines brightest. And in every trial allowed by the presence of evil, the righteous do more than survive. They are shaped into warriors of light, whose praise is not a performance, but a testimony that will echo when all evil has passed away, and only truth remains. And once the hearts of the righteous were made strong through testing, another wonder began to rise. A wonder not born from fire, but from mercy. For God, who watched loyalty blossom in the shadow of the serpent, was not content to let darkness have the final word. The story did not end with trials. It opened into something far more radiant, the glory of redemption. In the presence of evil, God chose not only to train the righteous, but to reveal the greatness of his heart by rescuing the lost. Where Satan sought to destroy, God planned to redeem. And this redemption would not be hidden. It would be displayed before angels, nations, and generations. The scriptures speak of Adam, who hid in shame among the trees. But even in his guilt, the voice of the Lord came walking in the garden, not to crush him, but to call him. It was the first whisper of redemption. A promise wrapped in a curse. A seed that would one day crush the serpent's head. From that moment, God began weaving a story through broken vessels, through stained altars and wandering people, to show that his glory was not found only in justice, but in mercy that stoops low and lifts high. The prophet Isaiah saw it when he declared that the Lord would take off garments of sadness and put on robes of righteousness. He said that beauty would rise from ashes. This was not the beauty of untouched perfection. It was the beauty of restoration. And such a glory could never be seen if Satan and his works had been swept away too soon. The darkness gave contrast to the light. The fall gave meaning to the rise. And the Redeemer, when he came, did not come to a world of peace, but to one ravaged by evil, so that his love would shine brighter than any angel's song. In the New Testament, Paul writes that God allowed all people to become prisoners of their own disobedience, so that he could show mercy to them all. This mystery stuns the soul. God permitted the fall, and he permitted the fallen one to roam, so that when he stretched out his hand to save, all creation would witness a love more powerful than wrath. Not because he was weak to destroy, but because he was strong to forgive. The cross was not plan B. It was the chosen place where glory would descend into shame and rise again with power. And without the serpent's sting, that glory would never be seen. Jesus told a story of a son who ran far away, wasting everything in darkness. But when he returned, the father ran to meet him, kissed his face, and clothed him with honor. This was not just a parable. It was a mirror of the divine heart. Redemption was not an afterthought. It was the stage upon which the glory of God would walk before men and angels. And that glory needed a setting. It needed the far country, the rebellion, the return. It needed the presence of the accuser to make the voice of the Redeemer thunder louder. Even the angels long to look into these things. For they see what we often forget, that God, in His mercy, turned the rebellion of one creature into the redemption of many. What the enemy meant for ruin, God used to reveal the depths of His love. And when the Lamb was slain, the heavens sang not of judgment, but of salvation. Worthy is the Lamb who was killed, they cried, to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and praise. It was not a cry of fear, it was a cry of wonder, because the glory of God had taken form not just in thunder or flame, but in blood that washes, in grace that seeks, in love that wins. And so the presence of Satan has become the black cloth against which the jewel of redemption is laid. The sin that broke the world became the crack through which mercy poured. And now, every soul saved from the snare, every heart turned from rebellion, every life restored from darkness becomes a living testament to the glory of a God who redeems. Not because He must, but because He chooses to. And in that choice, the heavens see a glory deeper than justice, a glory born from grace. And yet, as the glory of redemption rises like morning light through shattered skies, there remains one final thread, one quiet, weighty strand that holds the entire tapestry together: time. Not the time of men, counted by days and seasons, but the time of God, hidden in eternity and unfolding in perfect harmony. For the presence of Satan and the delay of his destruction are not signs of divine hesitation. They are pieces of a prophetic clock. Every breath he takes, every path he twists, and every echo of his rebellion is allowed for a season, not because God forgets, but because God remembers everything He has promised. The Lord is not slow in doing what He promised, as some people think. No, He is waiting with patience, because His plans are not rushed, and His justice is never premature. From the Garden of Eden to the visions of Daniel, from the scrolls of Revelation to the whispers of the prophets, there has always been a divine timeline. The rebellion in heaven did not surprise the Ancient of Days, and its unfolding on earth is not outside His calendar. When Satan fell, God already saw the last page. When evil entered, the countdown began, not by human hands, but by prophetic decree. In the days of old, Daniel saw beasts rise from the sea and horns that spoke arrogantly, and he was told to seal the words until the time of the end. The fulfillment was not near, but it was sure. In the book of Revelation, the angel swore by the one who lives forever that there would be no more delay. That word, delay, tells us something sacred. God has waited, not because He is uncertain, but because the appointed hour has not yet come. Evil must run its course. The stage must be set. All that was foretold must unfold. The mystery of lawlessness has been working quietly since the early days, as Paul said, but it is restrained until the time when the one who holds it back is taken out of the way. This is not chaos. It is choreography. Every nation that rises, every ruler who falls, every war, every silence, every trumpet, is part of a pattern laid before the foundations of the world. And God is not slow. He is exact. The presence of Satan continues because prophecy must be fulfilled. Not one word will fail. Not one vision will fade. Every decree spoken by God's servants, from Moses to John, must find its hour. The enemy is allowed to breathe for now, because the final confrontation must come not in confusion, but in clarity. Not in scattered moments, but in fullness. Jesus said that heaven and earth may pass away, but His words will never pass away. His return is certain. His judgment is appointed. But the timing is not random. It is righteous. It is aligned with feasts and fasts, with shadows and seasons, with seals and trumpets. And until the last name is written in the book of life, until the final harvest is gathered, until the bowls of wrath are full, the deceiver remains, not because he is winning, but because he is being watched and counted. There is a moment when the heavens will open and time will be no more. The delay will end, and the Lamb will rise to judge. But until then, the prophecies echo like distant thunder, reminding us that nothing has been forgotten. The presence of Satan is not an oversight. It is part of the design to fulfill all things in order. Every fall, every cry, every promise must be tied together in divine closure. And when that last hour comes, the Lord will not act suddenly, but exactly. He will close the scroll, open the books, and bring all things to their end. Not too early, not too late, but right on time. So now, as the veil lifts from these hidden truths, we begin to see that the continued existence of Satan and his fallen angels is not a sign of God's weakness, but of his wisdom, his justice, and his timing. Each reason we have explored, unveiling evil, preserving free will, testing the righteous, revealing redemption, and fulfilling prophetic time, is a thread in a divine tapestry that stretches from eternity past to eternity future. Nothing is random. Nothing is forgotten. God is not silent. He is patient. And though the deceiver still moves in the shadows, his end has already been spoken. The day will come when every knee will bow, every secret will be revealed, and every purpose behind this long war will shine like the sun. Until that hour, we wait, not in fear, but in holy expectation. If this video has stirred your spirit and opened your eyes to these hidden truths, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to understand why God still allows Satan and the fallen angels to remain. Drop a comment below and tell us which of these divine reasons spoke to your heart the most. Together, let's spread this powerful revelation and invite others into the deeper story of God's wisdom, justice, and unfolding plan. Let the message awaken faith, strengthen hope, and draw hearts closer to the mystery and majesty of God's eternal design.